do you get from one timeline to the next? With one of my clients, the gentleman, his wife called and said, I want to buy you for my husband for his birthday. He was a multi-millionaire. However, he grew up, raised by his grandmother. He was a milkman in his early 20s. And now he's a multi-millionaire. Now, everybody knew this. And what you need to do, if you are a multi-millionaire or outrageously successful, the same principle I use in one of my corporate clients or their new executives, always give a storyline of their life for the company so everyone gets a backstory on them. And what I do every time, especially for people who feel nervous, I don't like talking about myself. What you do is you make heroes of the people who taught you what you now know that helped you become the expert or the leader or the multimillionaire. For example, with my executive, his first hero and the first chunk of his life, his grandmother was the hero who raised him. He didn't meet his father, he was 12 years old. He was an illegitimate child. The second chunk and his second hero was when he was a milkman, thinking on top of the world because he'd finished work by the time he was having breakfast. And the company hired a management consultant, and he realized this man has more potential, and he was more interested, so he gave him advice. And the third mentor and the third chunk of his life was a mentor who became his adopted father. Therefore, the three chunks of his life that developed him, other people were the heroes. It's a lot easier to talk about your success when you're giving credit to the people who taught you. And the transition line from one chunk to the next was fast forward 7 years. And I said to him, because there are parts you miss out. You don't mention a wife you're no longer married to. Now, of course, many of my clients, I would say, please tell me you're still married to a childhood sweetheart, because women in the audience do not like it if men become outrageously successful and dump the wife who paid for them to go to college. Now, if you in fact aren't married to that wife, when you talk about your wife, you talk about your wife as if it was the same one. And as Darren says, you have to be emotionally true. You don't have to give all the details. Does it add to or distract from your message? That's it. Keynote content, because your life, your presentation is what you know. So you need to challenge yourself and then create your keynote. This is what we're doing when we ask all the questions. What do you know? Now, if you remember from yesterday's presentation, I say why our memories are worth a fortune are because they remind us of who taught us our values, what is most important, when do we feel most exhilarated, and how do we know what we know? This is the foundation for your speech. What do you know? How do you know it? Now, isn't this exactly what Kenneth MacFarlane said in 1978? An audience needs to know what you know and how you know it. Who taught you? To give credit. How does a hairstylist become a Hall of Fame keynote speaker on the front cover of Speaker magazine? With no real talent. You heard about all the good work habits, but you heard about all the people that helped. Review your life in stages. Young coming to America. America getting into speaking. Speaking getting to the next level, just the same as yours. Who were your influencers? How do you know what you know? Now, how many times from the champs have you heard say it in dialogue, Bill Gove? What are your biggest challenges? I mean, there are many people in our audiences, myself included, you leave a country, you go to another continent alone. I was 20, no job, nowhere to live. Didn't know anyone, $500. Nido Qubein, if you've heard Nido, the most magnificent speaker and president of High Point University, he came over from Lebanon, couldn't speak English, $50. I always say that was my problem. I had $450 too much. Maybe I would be the multi-millionaire that Nido is, yeah. What were the toughest choices? Now you notice if anyone comes on stage and we coach them, and the question is, have you ever? I always change it to, how often have you? Because it's, if this is a challenge people frequently have, aren't they more interested in how to solve it than, oh, once I had that problem? No, you frequently have this challenge or problem. Now the answer is more valuable. Subtle, but amazing in the impact. What is your greatest success? What's the best advice you give to your friends? Now you realize people will pay you for that advice. What did the president of the personnel company say? Do you coach? Oh, a few of my friends, I wish I was one of your friends. Can you see how the principles go behind what you saw yesterday? Once you develop your ideas, what is going in this speech, we all have different processes. I personally believe in our iPad texting world that a pad of paper in a coffee shop. Do you realize how many great speeches have been written in dark, smoky bars on a soggy cocktail napkin? Because when you're relaxed and stimulated, music around people, often you get your best ideas. Now, perhaps you work best alone, listening to classical music. It doesn't matter. But usually, it's not necessarily when you got your computer and you're in your office all organized. Now, when you put it together, you want to be somewhere organized, but the creative process, who knows? You might be sitting in a concert, exhilarated by the music, and then you get an idea, write it down. So it's the scraps of paper, it's your notepad that you carry in your pocket or your briefcase or your handbag. It's the soggy cocktail napkin. You put it together, then if your handwriting's as bad as mine, you just put it in a Word file. Then when you're putting together the speech, a flip chart. The biggest mistake my corporate clients make, and the first question you ask is, how do you put together your presentations? Well, I get out the deck of PowerPoint slides. No, no, no. PowerPoint is tidy. You know, I love PowerPoint. But that is the end of the creative process, not the beginning. Because then, now you might take your flip chart and just put your key ideas and post-its. And as you're standing up talking through, say, well, no, you know, really this story comes better there. That example comes there. What would it mean to you, your career, your company, if every time you stood up in front of 5, 50, or 500, in a boardroom, training center, or convention hall, if you were confident, you were powerful, persuasive, professional, compelling on message, and a resounding success? If you want to accelerate your career, transform sales results, develop leadership skills, or even become an in-demand, highly paid professional speaker, then Fripp Virtual Training is designed for you. FrippVT Powerful Persuasive Presentations is my highly interactive, learn-at-your-own-pace virtual training around all area of presentations. It is almost as if I am there, sitting next to you, helping. Fripp Virtual Training is a multi-million-dollar, state-of-the-art, web-based training platform. It is designed to closely emulate personal training and coaching. It's almost as if I am sitting with you 24/7 as your own personal speech coach and sales trainer. Sign up now, take a free trial, and experience 3 of our content-rich chapters. Then join and take advantage of my 30-plus years experience and in-depth study. Make the commitment to your career. Reap the benefits of FrippVT by making it a consistent part of your personal development. You'll be glad you did.